Around that time, I believe you had a very significant health challenge.
I did, after I graduated.
And can you talk about that, please?
I'd love to. 2 years after graduating from college, actually in college, I had a little health scare, which was, I was diagnosed with tuberculosis. Now, with no symptoms. I just finally, they saw a spot on my lung, and then they treated me. I took medication for a year, tuberculosis of all things, you know. And then 2 years after graduating, I was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Yeah, and went through for about a year, it progressed and advanced and advanced and advanced with no doctors figuring out what it was. And then finally, I don't know if you want to hear this or not, but finally my very close friend, Ruth, said, you know, I'm going to set up an appointment with my psychiatrist. I'd like you to see him. Well, at that point, that was not a big deal. You didn't, in my family, you didn't go to, there was no mental health option. And so I hid it from my mother, and I went to my friend's psychiatrist. At which point, the psychiatrist looked at me, first question out of his mouth, what is your relationship with food? I thought, what? If I could eat, if I felt like I dropped all this weight because I was so uncomfortable and in such pain, it was hard to eat. It was hard to, if I was hungry, if there was any little bit of hunger pain, I would devour and eat as much as I could. So it was because of Ruth, and then that doctor who ended up getting me into my internist that I'd seen many years before, and he immediately said, no, there's something actually physically wrong with you, not mentally. It's not an eating disorder. I could have told him that, you know. And so a few days later, there's the prognosis. Yeah.
Where did you receive treatment?
Toro Hospital, Dr. Caputo, and Jay Shames. Jay Shames, my internist. I can't believe I remember that. Dr. Caputo, Sal Caputo, was my oncologist at Toro in New Orleans. Mm-hmm. They were wonderful, really wonderful.
How long did you go through treatment for that?
10, 11 months. Lost my hair.
Which also led to a bit of a change in your looks, which also helped get you noticed and start a new part of your life.
Indeed.
In modeling.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
So it was interesting. When I was in college, there were a few people who had, I was encouraged by a few people. My boyfriend at the time had encouraged me, you need to start modeling. But you know, in Alabama, I'm 6'1", nothing really fit. And he was incredibly encouraging, bought me W Magazine and would point out trends in fashion and blah, blah, blah. So cut to me through this illness, losing all this weight. Not that I was large, but I dropped from, let's say, a size 10, 12 down to a 4'6". And that's substantial, you know, within a very short amount of time. And that stayed off. And so, in fact, I try to eat more. It doesn't stay on. But it, you know, my cheekbones came out and so forth and so on. So I ended up being scouted in New Orleans by, you know, this model scout, little model scout. And he said, you should be in New York modeling. And I looked right at him and I said, you know, I have no hair. I'm wearing a wig. I'm about to undergo my last chemo treatment. I don't, you know, that would be great. People have told me I should be modeling up in New York, but I don't know if that's the reality. And I'm a little older. I've graduated college. No, he said, no, seriously, come and visit. Get a plane ticket. Let me know when you're going to be there, and I'll set appointments up. And sure enough, and I thought, okay, I prayed about it. And I said, there's got to be a sign. And if there's a sign that says I'm supposed to be going down this path, then, you know, make it obvious. Don't make it a subtle sign. I mean, like, bah, hit me over the head. So I did. That's what happened. I ended up going up there. I had interviews with, 3 agents. The first agent called. My friend at that time, who had arranged all this, I'd walk into that agency with a wig, and it was kind of disheveled. It was March in New York, and everything is windy, and I'm freezing cold, and I have no hair under this wig. And she ends up calling. She sets up all these go-sees for me. She ends up calling the friend and saying, is Eugenie a man or a woman? Well, that cracked me up. And honestly, Charley, that was the start of this whole, my whole crazy career. Yeah. So anyway, and it ended up working out. I ended up getting jobs and paying for my trip up there. And I thought that sure enough is a sign that I should be, moving up there. And literally the month I told my doctor, I said, okay, last chemo, I'm moving up to New York. No! So no, seriously, you've got to be here every 3 months. I said, I will be here religiously for those appointments. I will be here. If you say I've got to get another appointment, I will be here. I'll get on a plane. But I'm moving to New York. And it changed my life. It really did. I'm living. I'm here.